first step in shooting a three-point shot is making sure you're behind the three-point line. I know at this court you can't really tell where the three-point line is because it has faded off over the years, but I've been playing here my whole life, so I kind of know where the three-point line is. So first step in making a three-point shot is making sure you're behind the three-point line. Okay, so after you find yourself behind a three-point line and you're ready to shoot a three-point shot, you should start thinking about your form. So by form, I mean the first step in shooting form is usually your feet. So your feet usually should be angled towards the basket, so when you shoot, your shot will be going towards the basket. If your feet are angled off to the left a little bit, your shot will usually fall off to the left of the basket. And same when your feet are off to the right of the basket, your shot will usually fall off right. So usually when I'm coming down, dribbling the ball, and getting ready to shoot a three-point shot, I look down for a quick second to make sure my feet are angled towards the basket, so at least I know when I shoot it, it'll be going towards the middle of the basket instead of falling off left or falling off right. So when you're behind a three-point line and ready to shoot a three-point shot, think about your form, and the first step of your form is making sure your feet are angled towards the basket. So after you make sure you're behind the three-point line and your feet are angled towards the basket, the next step in your shooting form is making sure your shooting elbow is pointed towards the middle of the basket. So when I say shooting elbow, it's usually on the side of your dominant hand, and since my dominant hand is my right hand, that's where my shooting elbow would be. So when I say your shooting elbow should be pointed towards the middle of the basket, it's usually coming from the bottom of your elbow, is pointed towards the middle of the basket. So when you shoot, that's where your ball will most likely be going. So if your shooting elbow was pointed off to the left or pointed off to the right, they would be going in that direction. So the second step in your shooting form is making sure your shooting elbow is pointing towards the middle of the basket. Okay, so after you make sure you're behind the three-point line, your feet are angled towards the middle of the basket, and your shooting elbow is angled towards the middle of the basket, the next step in your shooting form is the position of the ball when you're getting ready to shoot. So for me, I like to have the ball a little off to the right side of my head, just because it feels a little bit more natural. Usually in the NBA, players like to shoot over their head to prevent it from getting blocked, but since I feel like I have a quick enough release to shoot it off to the side of my head, I do that. So when I'm coming down and I get ready, I get behind the three-point line, my feet are angled towards the basket and my shooting elbow is angled towards the basket. I then place the ball off to the right side of my head and get ready to shoot. So the next step in your shooting form is the positioning of the ball. Okay, so once you make sure you're behind the three-point line, your feet are angled towards the middle of the basket, your shooting elbow is angled towards the middle of the basket, and you find the most comfortable position of the ball when you shoot. The next step is the jump or the takeoff when you're about to shoot. So the jump or the takeoff comes right after you find the most comfortable position for you when you're about to shoot the ball. So for me, there's three different kinds of jumps. There's the big jump where you usually get a foot or so off the ground. There's the little jump where you usually get a few inches off the ground. And there's the no jump off the ground, usually when your toes are still on the ground or you just don't jump at all. So for me, when I'm shooting, I like to use the little jump where I get a few inches off the ground because I feel like I have enough power from where I'm shooting to get the ball over someone before they come and block me, and I feel like my release is quick enough where I don't have to jump as high to get the ball over someone. So when I'm coming down, I make sure I'm behind the three-point line, my feet are angled towards the basket, my shooting elbow is angled towards the basket, and I have the ball where I wanted it positioned. I then proceed to start getting my jump off the ground, a few inches off the ground, and then that's where it all happens. So the next step in your shooting form is the jump or takeoff right before you shoot. Okay, so after you make sure you're behind the three-point line, your feet are angled towards the middle of the basket, your shooting elbow is angled towards the middle of the basket, you find the position of the ball that feels most comfortable to you when you shoot, and you figure out what your jump or takeoff will be before the shot. The last step in your shooting form is the wrist rotation. So when I say wrist rotation, usually the wrist rotation comes during your jump or takeoff during the shot. So when I say wrist rotation, it's going to be you motioning your wrist forward, causing the ball to rotate off your fingers like this. So usually when you're shooting with wrist rotation, you get more power on the ball going towards the basket when you shoot. If you usually shoot without wrist rotation, your ball will usually fall all forward before it reaches the basket, or it'll most likely angle off to the left or angle off to the right. So when I'm coming down, getting ready to shoot a shot, I make sure I'm behind the three-point line, feet angled towards the basket, shooting elbow angled towards the basket, and my jump or takeoff, and I just let it and I rotate it forward. So the final step in your shooting form will be the wrist rotation.